in the whole year that we stop learning in the middle of Seder. It's the only time we dare do such a thing. And that is because we're not stopping learning. We're going to increase learning for Hashem you're all here today. So we've got a very special lineup, and you'll see as it goes along, Hashem.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Stein.
Because you want to capture more.
It's very hard to see such a beautiful Besmedrash learning Torah and to stop it. But I guess we're stopping it for Torah as well, which is called Bitulas El Kiyuma. Sometimes you cancel Torah for the sake of building Torah. Today is a very special day. We have two special speakers. I personally know them very well. We're going to have our Dr. Abelman who will talk to us. Where's the doctor? Right near here. And Beis Hashem was known for Ish Chesed. Does a medical top doctor who does tremendous amount of Chesed for the Kehila. I personally enjoyed his services many times. And he'll be speaking about as a doctor in Beis Hashem. And then we're going to have Rabbi Ben Shasha. Where's Ben? Ben Shasha. A millionaire. I'm just kidding. Okay. Seriously, was a businessman and could share from that angle the topic that we're going to be dealing with today. So, since it is on the Cheshbon of Torah, we're going to try to do it as short, but we need totally your cooperation. Please sit back and listen and okay, so like a shout out to Abelman.
So Dr. Abelman is not just a doctor, he's a medical expert in the physical body and in the mind. He advises other doctors. So just understand, you're hearing someone who knows his stuff, okay? This is a real medical expert. So take heed, your boy said what he's doing. And one boy's going to video. Who's the video boy? Yeah, videoing? Okay, excellent. Dr. Abelman. It's a big discussion happening.
Rabbi Rabbi Hartman. It's a great honor to be here. Such an incredible Beis Midrash. I am blown away. You guys, you're fantastic. I actually want to come and join you. I think I'm in the wrong place. So when I was 8 years old, I was walking on a beach in my hometown, Durban, when I came across a very tanned and wrinkled woman called Mrs. Pletnik. She knew my family. She was a Hungarian lady who had come over to South Africa and made her home in Durban before the Second World War. What made Mrs. Pletnik unusual is that even though she was actually the same age as I am now, when you're 8 years old, someone in their mid-50s seems very old, she appeared much older than even someone of my obvious youth. Mrs. Pletnik asked me, as she always did, how I was, and I answered her politely. She then proceeded to ask me a question that forever changed the trajectory of my life. She asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I thought about it for a minute, and I said, "I think I'll be a doctor, Mrs. Pletnik." And so it was. I had a goal, I had an idea of what I wanted to do with my life, and with Hashem's help, when I set my mind to something, I always succeed. What struck me much later on was that Mrs. Pletnik, besides asking me a life-changing question, appeared extremely aged and bronzed from her years of sitting in the sun. She was addicted to the sun. Mrs. Pletnik enjoyed the sun, as most people do, because it made her feel well. But what it did is to make her skin age, so she appeared many years older than she actually was. So from a young age, with the blessing of an extremely supportive family, I set about mapping my career for the future. I applied myself diligently, read voraciously, studied studiously, and accomplished all that I needed to do in my exams, eventually achieving the equivalent A-level results that were required to enter medical school, become a doctor, and pursue my current career path as a family practitioner. I identified at a very early age the importance of goal-oriented learning and stuck to this by achieving the balance around my lifetime aspiration. I consciously made decisions that did not distract me from what I needed to achieve. But I did something else. I harnessed mind power to imagine myself to be what I wanted to be. By utilizing this gift of being able to project myself in the future meant that failure was never an option. This is much more powerful than just working hard. If you go to Johannesburg today, you're likely to go to the suburb of Glen Hazel. Glen Hazel, like Golders Green, has the highest density of kosher facilities that exist in South Africa. And in Glen Hazel, there's a very popular ice cream store which is run by a Chabad lady, Chana. She comes from Italy. But what makes Chana so special is her personal journey, which I want to share. She married young and was living in Italy when tragedy struck. Her husband was suddenly nifta in a car accident in his 20s, leaving her destitute with 3 young children. In her terrible situation, she was fortunate enough to find another husband in South Africa a couple of years later. But unfortunately, her new husband was unable to provide, and she was left in terrible financial difficulties. She had no earning skills and was with young children who she could not afford to feed or pay school fees for. To add to her misery, her oldest son was diagnosed with cancer and became more and more depressed as he struggled with his difficult family life and ill health. He fought his cancer and fortunately was cured, but life was hard and he struggled to get out of bed in the morning. So what did Chana do? She borrowed 10,000 rand, went back to Italy and learned how to make gelateria ice cream. She came back with her newfound skill after 3 months and opened what today is a thriving kosher ice cream business. Her shop is packed out in the South African sun with people flocking to her daily. Her son now runs her finances and can be seen every day on his laptop in the shop helping with orders and stock management. She demonstrated a fundamental element of success. She did not feel sorry for herself. She pulled herself out of a terrible situation, utilized mind power, and with tremendous tenacity, built a business that has transformed her and her children's lives. In my role as a general practitioner, I see a variety of people from different walks of life. What is most interesting and surprises people when they hear about it is that 25% of the problems I deal with in general practice are actually nothing to do with physical illness. That is, 1 in 4 people who present to me actually present with a psychiatric or psychological issue. They often express a picture that looks like a physical ailment, but in fact is not. As a practitioner, I have to go along with the patient because it's very difficult as a first step to say to somebody there's nothing physically wrong with you. And I think the problem is coming from your mind or your imagination. But people do not make things up in order to suit an agenda that is malingering. What they do, though, is they form associations or patterns from something they might have read about. They feel real symptoms, and they present to the doctor with something that really feels awful and it often is very fearful to them that something as bad is going to happen. My job is then to talk them down from this castle they've built in the sky and gently make the correct associations that they might likely be expressing as anxiety or pain around a certain event. Like the lady who saw me last week with severe headaches around the yacht site of her son. Once she saw the connection with his brain tumor, she could rationalize her own response. Why are people developing such enormous problems in our time? And why are so many young people who are coming from affluent, well-to-do, well-balanced families and homes presenting with a myriad of psychological and social issues? I think the answer lies in the fact that we are not immune to developing these issues simply because we have the trappings of a comfortable life. In fact, in my opinion, the more comfortable one's life is, the more sophisticated our concerns become. And we are drawn to worry and develop mental health issues due to the explosion of influences around us in our luxury world. So where does this unhappiness come from? The obvious source in today's world is the focus on social media. Social media prioritizes the pursuit of comfort, the comparisons we make with our neighbors, the pressures to keep up with our social groups, and the need to satisfy the desire for a constant buzz from a new stimulus because the old one has worn off so quickly. It creates addictions. These addictions can take many forms, but every addiction achieves what we call a dopamine surge. The dopamine surge is the feeling of happiness or gratification that we achieve when something really exciting happens to us. But as the chemical decays in our brain and that surge goes away, we are looking for the next hit and then the next hit. And it can be sometimes more powerful than a line of cocaine. This source of dopamine stimulus is varied. There may be various images, gambling, smoking, drugs, or alcohol. Our happiness becomes conditioned by the number of dopamine hits we can achieve. This becomes a perpetuating cycle of need. Sometimes the hits may become more than is permitted by society, and this starts to head into criminality. Why is it that young people are struggling and suffering so much like never before? Why is our teenage suicide rate so high? Why are we unable to stop the surge of this terrible situation affecting young people, which is leading to lifelong problems? The likelihood is that dependence on harmful media that come to us from a source that can be used both for tremendous good and bad, the smartphone. My concern lies in the fact that as a doctor, there seems to be no end in sight to the problem, and it's only getting worse. I see young people like never before with ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Adult ADHD has become a new disease, and although it may have existed and has been unrecognized for a long time, is very real. But young minds are being incorrectly wired through the need for multiple dopamine hits created through social media and destructive images. So what are the problems with smartphone use? This is quoted from a recent paper. Distraction and lack of focus. Mobile phones increase distraction, pulling students away from their studies. Sleep disturbance. Blue light emitted by mobile phones impairs the production of melatonin, a hormone responsible for regulating sleep. Reduced physical activity. Excessive mobile phone use leads to sedentary lifestyles. Instead of playing games or browsing, children are browsing the internet or over-engaging in physical activities. This contributes to obesity and related health issues. Poor academic performance. Studies show that students who spend time on their mobile phones have lower grades. Cyberbullying. Mobile phones provide a platform for cyberbullying where students can be harassed, threatened, or humiliated by their peers. Social isolation. Ironically, while phones are there to connect people, most people spend time engrossed in their phones while sitting with their peers, which is kind of missing the point, isn't it? Vision problems. Prolonged use of mobile phones can strain the eyes, leading to dry eye, blurred vision, headaches, what we call digital eye strain. Addiction. We've touched on this. Mobile phone addiction is a growing concern. People need to check their mobile phones constantly in order to satisfy their needs and interfere with their daily routines, academic responsibilities, and relationships. Exposure to inappropriate content. The internet is rife with inappropriate content. Without proper supervision, students can easily access violent, explicit, or misleading information. Increasing anxiety and stress. Constant connectivity and pressure to respond to messages leads to this FOMO, feeling of missing out, and this can exacerbate feelings of anxiety, leading to mental health issues. The signs and symptoms of phone addiction are exactly the same as alcohol. Lying about smartphone use, loved ones expressing concern, neglect or trouble completing duties at work, school, or home. More and more time using a phone, checking people's profiles repeatedly due to anxiety, accidents or injuries due to phone use, working later to complete tasks. I started off by telling you that when I started my journey towards being a doctor, this was born out of an intense desire which was goal-driven. Most people don't have the fortune of knowing what they want to do with their lives from an early age, and that is usual. Most people also don't have the skill sets to turn their lives around like Hannah, and will remain resigned to their lives being impossible to change. But knowing where you want to be is also knowing where you are now. I'll repeat that. Knowing where you want to be is knowing where you are now. You cannot climb the ladder of of personal growth if you start off in a hole formed when the brain is not fully developed. A person cannot sow a vineyard in contaminated soil. If you place destructive and harmful material in a vulnerable vessel, your brain, it will take an enormous and almost impossible lifetime of work to dig yourself out of this. And this is before one even starts to build an adult life. There are obvious various addictions out there, and some are seemingly more harmless than others. Mrs. Pletnick was addicted to the sun, and yes, it aged her dramatically, and she might have eventually needed treatment for skin cancer, but it does not mean she damaged relationships or was unable to function when she went home. Similarly, spending hours on BBC Bite-Size enhances science learning and may be used as long as social media is switched off, not to distract you. But what of forbidden images? The rise of access to online pornography is an epidemic, and the problem with it is that once it is seen, it cannot be unseen. There is an excellent reason why Chazal prohibit why there is an issue of velo taturu. You should not follow your eyes. This is one of the most destructive but seemingly innocuous activities one can be involved with. The focus on this addiction is almost impossible to do sugar for. What follows from this is the danger of objectifying women, laying the foundation for unhappy future relationships, and ultimately wrecking marriages. The sensation associated with how the brain processes the information is so antithetical to the spiritual and physically healthy journey of young people that it dramatically reduces the success of respecting women who Hashem has chosen for you to spend eternity with in the future. And this starts years before you even meet her. How could there not be a bigger disaster? Before you know where you are headed, you need to know where you are. If that place is buried in a screen which society, with its appetite for woke culture, destructive beliefs, and distortion of truths, applauds as being acceptable, for sure it is not the place for you. As a doctor, I need my phone for professional related activities. I may need to look, and may need it as well, to look up even medically related matters that might be of an intimate nature. But I choose to forego this, as I don't trust myself. I personally block my phone from all adult contact. My work and home have filters on them, and my wife does and can check my phone at any point, as she has all my passwords. And no patient has ever come to harm through my self-censorship. Rebbeim, students and friends, use this time before Rosh Hashanah to strengthen yourselves. We have a unique opportunity to up our game. Use your phone for good. Asoi siag l'Torah. Build a fence around one of the greatest destructive influences ever to invade our lives. Use this opportunity to protect yourself from forces that can damage to your well-being and mental health, prevent you being able to develop your own mind power, affect your tenacity for personal growth, and damage the relationship with the woman you have not even met yet. And ask yourselves the same question that Mrs. Pletnick once asked me. What do you want to be when you grow up? Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ulzakazi. You know, it's not easy to get someone of this caliber in on a weekday at 9 o'clock. But one of the Rebbeim, he goes to his weekly share, and we managed to get a little bit of protexia. Dr. Abelman, we can't thank you enough for your time and your words of wisdom. Thank you so much. May Hashem bless you to continue healing for our show. Thank you so much. And Dr. Abelman wants to join the Beis. Now, some boys haven't got Chavrusa, so hopefully we can work something out. Thank you so much, Dr. Abelman. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, Rabbi Zai, is, apart from being a dear, dear friend of mine, he's a very special person. He's a Ben Torah, and I'll tell you why I want to invite him in. Because, as we know, Hashem doesn't care rich, poor. That's not important. But for this morning, I wanted to invite a very successful businessman in. Because I want to hear from someone who knows the business world, who travels internationally, who's seen lots of things, and Hashem, Baruch Hashem, it's Baruch Hashem, Li'ayin Hara. And I want to hear what he has to say about the business world. A special person, a Ben Torah is created, my Torah is learning every morning and every night. But I want to hear the take from the business side of things. So we're very honored to have Mr. Ben Shasha.
Rabbi Yoni came to me, Motzei Shabbat, and told me, Ben, will you speak on Monday morning? I said, no, Rabbi, I'm not speaking Monday morning. Find somebody else. Yesterday I sent a message, did you find somebody else? No, there's nobody else. I spent from around 8 p.m. last night trying to think of something to say. Spent a few hours, went to bed at 12, woke up at 5 for my first Chavruta of the day. Which then following that we have Slichot as Faradim, we go have Shachrit, and then we go to work. So normally I don't think I don't want to say this. Maybe the English rabbis will be upset with me, but I don't really draw any inspiration from things that I've seen in the UK. Until I saw this room this morning, it's absolutely incredible what Rabbi Hartman has been, and all the rabbis here have done over the last few years. Really, it's something that a big rabbi in Israel would tell me in the UK we're sleeping in comparison to America, but I don't think he saw this room. So I'll just give you a little bit of a background of myself, and I'm sure many rabbis in this room have similar stories, and I'm just one of the group. But I'll tell you about myself and my own experiences, because I wasn't able to prepare something like Dr. Abelman, that is also a tremendous person and friend of my family, and we appreciate everything that he's done for us. So I grew up actually in Kensington and Chelsea for the first few years of my life, and then my parents moved to St. John's Wood. We didn't have any, real religious community around us. I grew up in a synagogue called Spanish and Portuguese, 99% not Shomer Shabbat. And this is what I grew up with until I was 14. And my father was becoming religious as I was growing up and sending me to different schools, from school in Kensington to Keren, to Hasmonean Primary, Menorah Foundation, and then eventually to Menorah Grammar. However, throughout the way, it was just my father growing and thinking, no, maybe that school is better for you, maybe that school is better for you. But I missed out a lot of things that maybe you guys know. I had no idea of the topic of, Shmirat Einayim, purity of the eyes. I had no idea, I didn't know anything about it until I was like 20 years old. Right? Things that when I was a kid I would watch, would portray things to be normal, to be natural. And when I'm 19 years old, I go to yeshiva for the first time. I barely know how to read Gemara. You guys all Zocher to learn Baba Kama, and you know how to read a Tosfot. When I was 20, I didn't know how to read any Tosfot, no Gemara, nothing. So I come into yeshiva and I learn about this concept. Then we didn't have smartphones. So when I first went to yeshiva, I was 18. We didn't have smartphones. I had a BlackBerry, but the browser wasn't what it is today. No, I didn't have a beeper. A BlackBerry. I went through my first years of yeshiva, trying, working, and building myself up and filling up all the lost information that I missed growing up. When I was 21, I got married, and that's when I actually got my first smartphone. And I was aware, though, then when I was 21, that there is an idea of Shmirat Einayim, guarding one's eyes, being careful what he looks at. So I told the IT guy in my dad's office, you're sending me the new Samsung smartphone, make sure that you blocked everything. And that's what happened. And over the last 13 years since, I've been getting all the latest iPhones, but every single year, I think collectively over the last 12 years, I must have spent hundreds of hours, on the phone with tags, support staff, trying to get the best filter for me. And the reason why I have the filter is, one reason Dr. Abelman said, is because when you look at things that you shouldn't look at, I can testify that it had a tremendous effect on when it came out for me, when it came to the time that I was supposed to be going out with my wife. I nearly lost the opportunity, because unfortunately I grew up not knowing what it was to have purity of the eye. And after that, I was so shocked that I almost lost the opportunity with my own wife. I would tell any guy around me, I was like, guys, you need to be careful. You know, just watching a movie, just going on the internet. It's not like, I did that on Monday, Tuesday's a different day. No, it has a profound effect on a person. And Dr. Abel went through the medical effect on a person, but I can testify on myself. When I was coming to get married, I nearly lost the girl that I was going to marry. And for me, I don't think if I didn't marry this girl, I wouldn't be married today. So that's the first thing. And the second reason that I spent so much time looking for filters is because I saw the time waste. So I was in yeshiva till about 6 years ago. When I was in Israel, I was involved in a few different property developments of my own, developments of my family. And at the same time, I was learning, and I felt the fact that I had the responsibility to be always available. So it detracted from my family life, it detracted from my learning life. And while I was working and doing the buildings, it could have been because I was in a meeting on a $20 million project. I was, constantly being badgered by architects and workers on different sites I was at. So it was the lack of focus that I was experiencing at that time. And this has built up over the last 6 years. 6 years I've been working in London. I've done over the last 6 years, again, I'm small in numbers, but I'll tell you anyway, because I really have nothing to hide. I've probably been involved in about £50 million of my own property and developments, as well as we manage over £200 million of real estate. And with all that said, I still think, with all that in mind, I think that there is no excuse for a person like myself to have an unfiltered device, and not only to have an unfiltered device, I think I am aiming to get rid of my iPhone very soon. And I draw a lot of inspiration from a friend of mine in New York. He has a turnover of $60 million a year. And the guy, a few years ago, his daughter comes up to him, his name is Ronnie Ajmi, maybe Rabbi Hartman knows him, he's from Brooklyn. And his daughter asks him, if you were in the times of Achashverosh, would you have eaten in the Suda of Achashverosh? So Ronnie Ajmi says to his daughter, no, I wouldn't have. So he says, I think I would have been with Mordechai. So she says to them, why do you have an iPhone? Right? Rav Chaim Kanievsky and all the rabbis say, you shouldn't have one. And from that day, this guy, he's the biggest businessman that I know. He's the most inspirational businessman that I know. This guy got rid of his iPhone and has had a flip phone ever since. It's called, no, it's not a Nokia. It has Waze on it. It has text, Fig. It's a Fig phone. Fig phone. So that's what I'm aiming for. In my life, I'm aiming for, there's no excuse. There's no person who says, no, look at me, I'm so very successful. I have 100 people working for me. This guy has hundreds of people working for him. Myself, I have 20, 25 guys working for me. I think for myself, there's no excuse. So I'm going to end off here that I wouldn't encourage, but don't do it for us. Don't do it for the rabbis. Do it for yourselves. Give yourselves the best opportunity in your life to succeed in your marriages and to succeed in your business. So you can be focused, so that when you do have a task at hand, wherever you work, you can put your phone on the side for a few hours without looking at it and focus at the task at hand. And I'm sure those that restrict themselves, right? And the more you restrict themselves, if you can have just email and messaging, the more you can restrict, the more I'm sure you're going to have the success in everything you do. Because the proof is in the pudding, what can I tell you? Have a great day.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you so much, Mr. Ben Shasha, for the chizuk. We really appreciate your time, you coming in and sharing us from your perspective how you understand the dangers of the internet, etc. First, I just want to say a big welcome, Shalom Aleichem to Beit Chadash. I'm really happy that you guys are here. A round of applause, everybody, for Beit Chadash for coming. It's really special, and the amazing Rabbi Fine. We're really happy to be here. We hope to team up all with you. At the end of the day, we all want this message. I'd like to stand. We've had from the doctor, we've had from the businessman. I'd like, with your permission, to share a small perspective of what the Torah has to say about these things. I'll tell you the truth. I can't tell you how many times I get calls from boys in this room saying they're in pain. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you. They call me, I see them on the street, and boys say that we're in pain. And I say, why? And they say, because we know we're watching things we shouldn't look at. We're addicted to things. I did research, and I want to tell you a fact. A person who's addicted to something is suffering. If you're addicted to something, whatever it is, you're in pain. No one wants to be addicted to something. No one wants to have a situation where I can't control myself. So we want as rebellion, and I really, really mean this. If I wasn't Jewish and you weren't Jewish, I would arrange this seminar. I don't want any boy to be in pain. I don't want any boy to have to put on a fake smile in the morning so his friends don't think he's going through a hard time. I don't want boys to walk down the street aimlessly, suffering inside without having the courage to open up to someone. How do I know this? Because boys tell me. I want to share with you one line Reb Chaim Shmulevitz writes. He was Rosh Hashiva of the May in the 1960s and the 1970s. And he writes one line, and this is the aside that I think can change a person's life. I'm not talking about internet and filters. I'm talking about growing as a Jew. I want to share with you one line. Everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to have a good gezerah Rosh Hashanah, a gezerah tova. No one wants a gezerah ra. We daven to Hashem, levatel gezerah ra. We want something good. I want to show them one line the rabbi writes, the Rosh Hashiva of the Mir writes, how a person can steig. Listen to what he writes in MATZAV Gimel on page Shin Tzadik Zayin. Ki amakev ha'ikari le'isalois ha'adam. What is the greatest prevention from a person growing? You've got a list of 100 things. What is the number one on the list that stops a person growing? Wouldn't you want to know the answer to this question? He writes it right here. The single greatest preventative of a person growing, writes the Rosh Hashiva, who ha'yisraglus lematzavoi. He's so okay with where he is. He's accustomed to his path. He's so comfortable in his arba amas. A person who says the following, and I'm English, so I can say the following. There is a terrible English mentality that I'm okay with where I am. I'm not changing. I'm not denting my comfort zone. Many boys that are woken up this morning, I'm not getting a filter. It's not me. I'm not that guy. It's out of my comfort zone. Do you know how to steig? The second you feel that little bit of discomfort, that little bit of pain, you're denting your comfort zone, and then you know you're steiging. Imagine a person said, I've been going to the gym for many decades. It's so easy. It's so comfortable. It's so I've never broken a sweat. I've never struggled. You know for a fact he's never built muscle. There is a saying and there's some truth to it. No pain, no gain. The second a person says, you know what? I'm going to do something. It's a little bit hard. It's not my comfort zone getting a filter. It's so much easier just having freedom. I can watch whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, that is how to not grow. To say, I'm just okay. I don't want to change. I don't want big things. I'm staying in my comfort zone and I'm not denting. That person won't grow. The second a person says, I'm going to make a dent in my comfort zone. I'm going to do something, it's not so easy, you grow. Writes the Peleyoyt in Ois Aleph in Abira Slave. Abira Slave means courage. Writes the Peleyoyt. It's here. Abira Slave hu tzorech godol avodas hakel yisborach. A person to steig needs courage. If you haven't got courage, you're not going to steig. Is it always so easy to do the right thing? Is it so easy to do something I'm not okay with? It's not easy. The Rosh Hashiva last week spoke about learning on Shabbos afternoons. For many people, that's a foreign concept to me. To learn on Motzei Shabbos, Don't talk to me about Judaism on Motzei Shabbos. For many people, opening up a sefer is a foreign concept outside of these walls. Do you know how to steig? Steiging means to grow. It's the Yiddish word for grow. Do you know how a person grows? To do that little step that's not comfortable. To open up a Gemara, it's not easy on a Shabbos afternoon. Who does that? The second you do that, you know the Ushtaiging, Rabbi Isai. I want to make a suggestion. For the boys that are considering getting a filter, I think you should do it. Boys that are 50-50, I think you should do it. The boys that aren't considering doing it, I've got a suggestion. It's just a suggestion. To try it for a month. We're holding now, Rabbi Isai, a week before the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. Imagine going into Yom Adin. Imagine going in, Rabbi Isai, to Rosh Hashanah, and you could say to the Bnei Shalom, I'm not doing Averas right now. If you get it off in a month, it doesn't take away your schar. You still get schar for the month. You know, Rabbi Isai, the Pasuk says in the Nehemiah, Ki chedvas Hashem hi me'uzchem. The Gemara has a pshat in Beis, so what it means. Look at Rashi, there's nothing but Beis. I'd like to share with you, and I'll conclude with this. A pshat that I'd like to say in the Pasuk in the Nehemiah, Ki chedvas Hashem hi me'uzchem. The Gemara says it's talking about if you borrow money to pay for your Yitzhak Yom Tov, Hashem will pay you back. I'd like to suggest the following. Ki chedvas Hashem. Do you know what makes Hashem happy? Hi me'uzchem. It's when you're strong. Hashem loves it when his children are strong. Hashem doesn't want us to be weak and take the easy option. I'm not the smartphone, the filter. It's not me, Rabbi. You got the wrong guy. It's out of my comfort zone. Break your comfort zone, and I promise you, you will see the beginning to growth you never thought you can have. If there's any boy in this room that is thinking about it and is worried about not doing it for financial reasons, I will pay myself for it. I don't care how much it costs. I will pay myself for any boy that wants a filter for as long as they want. Nobody should have a havamina not to do it because of money. There's a mitzvah saying the Torah of Kedoshim to you. Those that get a filter have kavanah, that you'll be kind of mitzvah seita oraisa of Kedoshim to you. Ki chedvas Hashem hi me'uzchem. Rabbi Isai, be strong. The Pasuk of Rosh Hashanah by Nehemiah, yeah. Shilchu manasei lachem loy al ta'atzvu. We learn from there the pre-Chodesh Mikdash, you should say Mishlach Malach Pasha. Al Kapora, that was said by Rosh Hashanah. And what Rabbi Isai, what is Chodesh Tishrei called? Anybody know what it's called? Yarach? Hi, Samir. It's the month called strength. Rabbi Isai, don't be weak. Be strong. And do something you know on Yom Kippur and Olam HaEmes. You're going to be proud of. We're going to have the Manal say a few words. And then we're going to have Rabbi Yaakov Twarski, and then we're going to wrap up our session.
Okay, Shkara, thank you, Rabbi Rosenfeld. I want to be very quick, but first of all, I wanted to say, aside from our wonderful speakers, Dr. Abram and Mr. Shashna, I want to give a big thank you to Rabbi Rosenfeld, whose whole thing is his friend. We are very, very fortunate to have someone of Rabbi Rosenfeld's caliber and passion in this Beis HaMedrash. I just want to say two things very quickly. Number one, Rabbi Abraham Tversky was a well-known psychiatrist, Talmid Chacham, died a few years ago. He's got a lovely essay where he asks something very strange. I bet, unless you've seen this, you won't know the answer. The question he asks is, how do lobsters grow? I don't think many people have thought about that. This is the problem. You see, a little lobster has a shell. And when the lobster is a baby lobster, like everyone else, it grows. But the shell is static. So how's it going to grow with it? It doesn't. The answer is, every few months, the lobster grows, it breaks the shell, and then it creates a new shell. And that process repeats itself many times in the life of the lobster. If you don't try and break the shell, you will remain that little thing. Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch says that the word simcha is connected to the word with a tzadi, tzomeach, to sprout, to burst through. Sameach and simcha, it's the same thing. This is not like Rabbi Rosenfeld just now. Even if I wasn't Jewish and you weren't Jewish, we'd be putting on this thing. 11% of schools in this country are now coming to their senses and realizing that smartphones are dangerous. The number will shoot up. You know, when I was growing up as a kid and I went on an aeroplane, you could smoke on the airplane. Strangely, they put the smokers in the back for some strange reason, and the smoke just went all the way to the front. But we now look back and think, really, they did that? Well, one day we're going to look back and say, they gave children smartphones without filters? Are they crazy? Let me just finish with one thing. The Gemara says that there was a person who was addicted more than anybody has been addicted in history. His name was Rabbi Elazar ben Dudaya. The Gemara says he did crazy things. And the Gemara says that he did tshuva. And he did tshuva gemura. And so much so that when he was so repulsed by his own self that he cried himself to death. And Rebbe says when he heard that, Yesh koina elomoy kameshonim. A person can acquire his ticket to the world to come over a course of many years, a lifetime. V'yesh koina elomoy b'shor achas. In one moment. The Maggid of Mezrich says, you know what sha'or means? Like we have in Parshas Bereshis, ve'al menchosoi lo sha'or, he didn't turn. With one turn, with one twist, yesh koina elomoy. I don't know what the challenges are that you guys are facing. That's the honest truth. Because I didn't grow up in your generation. MATZAV Salman, when he wakes up in the morning every day, used to say, the great Mashkiach of Lakewood, he used to say 2 Moide Anis. Moide Ani, the one that you and I will say. And the second Moide Ani is Moide Ani, that I'm not a teenager in this generation. You are facing challenges that has not been around since Sheshis Yemei Bereshis. But just like the challenges are greater, the rewards are greater. With one twist, with one turn, with one resolution, whether it's for a month or longer, to go to one of the brilliant tag team and try for a month to put in a filter on your phone, it will change the trajectory of your life. What we want from you guys is really what you want for yourselves, what your parents want for you, is for you to be happy, to be engaged, to live a life of Torah. There's nothing more precious than that. And it really can start here this morning. Thank you again, Yoni.
No, Beis, I just want to say something that happened to me on Motzei Shabbos. Shasha, if you have to leave.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to speak for 90 seconds. At 1 o'clock in the morning, on Motzei Shabbos, I got a text. And I don't have WhatsApps and I don't have anything, so, and I don't have the name in the phone. Are you ready, or could you learn with me now? 1 o'clock in the morning? I don't know who sent it. I didn't reply. I got a phone call 5 minutes later. And let me tell you, it's someone who studied here one day in the Beis. He's today in his 30s. He's unmarried. And I made up with him that every time you have a Yetzer Hara to do something inappropriate, I met him once, just 2-3 weeks ago, and I forgot. Anytime you have a Yetzer Hara to do something inappropriate in our Yetzer type of field, give me a call, I'll learn with you then. I totally forgot about it. The man is a millionaire, extremely wealthy. He doesn't have a chance to be able to get married. Not a chance. He came over to my house. I said, I'll make up a name. Moshe. Oh, yeah, I didn't recognize your name. I'm not going to say your name now, Moshe. Yeah, come learn. We learned together from 1:15 to 2:15 because he was afraid to do something bad instead at that time. This is what happened just Motzei Shabbos. We wish him the best, but the point being is leaving a little bit your comfort zone. If I only learn Torah when I'm in the mood, I'm not leaving my comfort zone. So it's only when I'm in the mood. And then you'll say in the morning, Moody Ani. Okay, Rabbi Say.
Okay, Rabbi Say. Now we've got in Rabbi Say coming in today. We want to facilitate for you to make it as easy as possible. Instead of having to get the bus to go to Screen Road and queuing up and it's raining in Tag and there's a queue, we haven't got in one technician on the side. We haven't got in two. We haven't got in three. We haven't got in four. We've got 5 technicians. We are coming to the Rabbi side. You don't need to queue. Rabbi side, you know the kind of pasuk? Rabbi side, they're coming to you. The team is headed by Rabbi Yaakov Twarski, a friend of our Beis. We know Rabbi Twarski, a friend of our Beis. And he's got his amazing team with him. His amazing team have come with him. Friendly people, warm people, here to help. No one should be embarrassed about anything at all. So we're going to hear the technical side now from Rabbi Twarski, then Rabbi Buckman will address us, and then we'll finish it. Rabbi Twarski, thank you so much for coming with your amazing team.
All right, here's the deal. We're about to do the impossible. We're about to take anybody that's getting a filter.
An American.
Yes.
Hey!
Yeah, we'll discuss football later.
They think football's soccer.
Can't educate everybody. We're about to take the unlimited internet and try and fit it into some sort of limited box. So we are about to try and copy the Rebbeinu Shloim. The Rebbeinu Shloim is the unlimited, made this finite world. We're about to try and do the same. Now, the automatic consequences of trying to do something like that is that there are going to be hiccups. The internet was not made, smartphones are not made to be filtered. The iPhone just came out with an update that has proven the point that they're trying to make money. And they don't care about morality, they don't care about anything else. One of the features that they feature in this update is that really screams it out. We don't care about morality, we don't care about personal relationships, we don't care about marriages, we care about you getting your enjoyment. You shouldn't need to be afraid that anybody else is going to find out what you've been doing. We're about to try and put something, a filter on something that is not supposed to have a filter. It's not made to have a filter. The consequence of that is that there's going to be inconveniences. Like we just spoke about, all the rabbis mentioned, there are going to be times, a bit frustrations. Now we're going to try and make it as smooth as possible, but please bear in mind, you're going to put on the filter, it's going to take a few days probably till we get it right just for you. There will be a few times frustrations, but bear with it, it's worth it in the end. The filter that we're going to be putting on here, we're only using one filter here just because of the ease of how it works with the phones. It's called MB Smart. There are 2 aspects to the MB Smart filter. There's the app manager part, and there's the content filter part. The app manager part means you can download any apps you want from either the Play Store or from the App Store. However, you need to request it then from the filter. Now there are settings of which apps the filter will allow. Once you've requested them, which apps we will block. Those will be set up, but it takes another 25, 30 seconds, another minute for you to download an app. 60 seconds nowadays is a really, really long time. So, but bear with it, it's worth it. It also gives you that few more seconds to actually think about whether or not you need the app you're about to download. That is aspect number 1. That is both for Android and iOS operating systems. The other aspect is the content filtering. There is the MB Smart Regular, there's MB Smart Pro. MB Smart Regular works by categories. News, shopping, information, Torah, banks, tools, works by categories. Now, if your news category is open, any news site will be allowed through regardless of the content on the news page. That is the way the regular basic MB filter works. It will block any inappropriate websites, obviously limiting a lot the content that you're getting, but it does have that limitation of what it filters. There is something, the next level is called MB Pro, which then can do image filtering and text filtering, within the pages, which can be set to either lenient or more strict. The MB Pro only works on iPhones, it only works with Safari, and on Android only works with something called the Kiwi browser. Now the Kiwi browser is very similar to the Chrome browser, but I just want to make you aware beforehand. When you come up to us, please let us know whether or not you would like the Pro or the regular, so that we know we could do this as smoothly as possible. If you are going to get the Pro, and you have an Android, please download Kiwi browser. It will just make things much quicker. If you have an iOS, meaning an iPhone, in order to install the filter, we need your Find My to be turned off. So if you have an iPhone, you're planning on getting the filter, please take it out right now. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, get those iPhones out. Okay. All right, whoever doesn't have their iPhone on there, you're going to go to your account picture thing. You're going to go to the account. There's a setting there called Find My. There's a switch to turn it on or off. You have to turn it off. You need your iCloud password in order to do that. The newest updates of iPhone have made installing filters more difficult. They have something called stolen protection. They don't want you turning off the Find My so easily. So, there's another setting that you need to go to turn off stolen protection. Hopefully, if you've been coming to school every day, hopefully your iPhone will consider this location to be a familiar place. It will allow you to turn it off immediately. If not, there is an hour wait that you need to wait before you can turn it off, which means we can't do anything with your phone before that's turned off. So, again, if you do have an iPhone, you're planning on getting a filter, please leave or go out or whatever you're going to do. See if you can get that Find My turned off, because you may need to wait an hour before we can do anything for you. I think that's all for right now. So let's go and do the impossible.
Okay, Rabbi, so hi to everyone. Before we go going, there was a suggestion to sing one song together. What? So Rafi Sam, do you want to come to the front with your guitar? Excellent. So we're going to sing a song, Rabbi Sam. In order to connect Rabbi Sam, one song about Yerushalayim to connect Rabbi Sam, Chodesh Elul, and then we'll start. Achdus, Rabbi Sa. Come on, don't be scared. Achdus, Rabbi Sa.